Okay, let's talk about Ko. In his recent post, Sharad pointed out he was a little bit confused about how the Ko rule works in the game. And in my current game with Dean, we've come up against a situation where that also potentially involved a Ko. So I thought it was time to have an explanation about this. So let's talk about Ko. Ko in Japanese is simply the word for eternity. That's all it means. That's the literal translation of Ko. But Ko is a special situation in Go that we encounter and that sometimes causes confusion. So I'm going to try and as simple as I can. So here we have a situation on the board. Black has this shape, and we know from my previous video that actually white can't play at e5 at the center of that because white can't breathe. There are no liberties, there are no breathing spaces. It's not a playable space. But in this situation, if white has the stone at e4 in Atari, this stone here, at the moment that white stone touches the board, the black stone runs out of liberties and white gains a liberty. So the board changes to look like that. Well, this is where the Ko rule comes in. What's to stop black simply saying, well, I'm going to take that back, and the white stone disappears. And white says, well, I'm not having that. I'm going to play back, and the black stone disappears. And this is the essence of eternity. If we didn't have some kind of special rule to cover this situation, we would go on forever. The game of Go would never end. And two players who had a particular belligerence for each other would sit here forever. So the Ko rule kicks in, which says that after the first capture, the next player can't capture back until a stone has been played elsewhere on the board. That's it. It basically says a Go game, the board situation can never repeat. After the first capture, the opposing player cannot play back until they've played a stone elsewhere on the board, and that is the Ko rule. So how would that work in practice? Well, as we were saying, black could take back and white could go. This is without Ko rule. But now the Ko rule kicks in. If black plays elsewhere, white has two options. White could fill the Ko, and now it's gone away. There is no Ko anymore. There is no take back. The Ko's over. So white has the option at this point, when black plays elsewhere, to end the Ko and stop it completely, stop it dead in its tracks. But white, and this is part of the strategic beauty of Go, white might say, actually, I can exploit this Ko. I can get something out of it elsewhere. So white says, well, I'm going to play here. I'm going to put this stone into Atari. And black says, well, now, because the board situation has changed, when black played this stone over here at c7, the board changed. There was a new stone on the board. So now black can take back the Ko, and black indeed does take back the Ko. And then the Ko rule kicks in again. So white can't take back because of the Ko rule. So white says, well, actually, I don't care. I'm going to dive into that corner. And this kind of move is what we call in the game a Ko threat. White is saying, well, if the Ko is important to you, you can have the Ko, but I'm going to have something else in exchange. And so black in this case says, well, I really don't want you to go into that corner and separate my stone, so I'm going to play here. In which case white says, well, that's fine then. So I'm going to take back the Ko. And the Ko becomes active again because black cannot play here because of Ko rule. And at this point, and this is quite normal within the game, black says, oh, enough is enough, guys. I'm going to connect here. I'll give up that little Ko fight. I want to keep white separated. And so it ends. So that's an explanation of Ko, but it comes down, the most important bit is right the way here at this shape. Ko is simply the word for eternity to avoid this endless repetition that would take place. Okay, now I just want to go and look at Sharad's game. So this is a game that Sharad played, and he posted the diagram for, saying he was a bit confused, and the confusion came at this position right here. So as we can see in the shapes at the top here, in this area, we've got our 3 stones here, and this stone is sitting. And Sharad, when he played the move here at b8, set up the ko. So black plays a8 and white takes the ko. So now the ko is active, and you can see I've marked up the stones that are involved. Even though there are lots of other stones around, there are these 3 stones here and these 4 stones on white side. So the ko rule says black cannot take that back, otherwise we'd be in the eternity situation. So black plays elsewhere, and black plays another stone on the board, actually atariing the stone at g9 and saying to Sharad, do you like your stone at g9, or do you want to connect the ko, or indeed in this situation take the stone at d6? Sharad said, actually I'm going to atari this stone over here, and black said, well, I quite like that stone, I'm going to connect it. And then Sharad said, well, I'm going to atari these 2 stones, which of these 2 stones do you like? And black said, well, I'm going to atari you as well. And so Sharad took the stone there. At this point, black took this stone. In fact, because black took 2 stones with that single move. And black's also, notice, threatening to cut here and kill all 3 of those stones, because these 3 stones here have only got 1 liberty left now. They're in extreme danger. At that point, Sharad took the corner and took another stone in the corner, and then black came back and took the ko. Now it's fine for black to take the ko back because the board situation had changed from where it was originally half a dozen moves ago. So the board has changed, so black, the ko rule no longer applies, black can take back. What Sharad then did was play into the corner, but notice by playing into the corner, it means that both of these stones, that stone's in Atari because it's only got 1 liberty here, and that stone's in Atari because it's only got 1 liberty here. So black simply killed both stones. And that was the situation that Sharad posted on the net. So that's what happened in your game, Sharad. That's an explanation of the ko rule for the rest of you. I hope that makes sense. There's more to kos than I've talked about. There is a whole area called ko fighting, but that's for another day. That's the explanation of ko and how it applied to these games. Okay, thanks guys. See you soon. Bye.